Thank you. All right, so welcome everybody. I am going to share my screen so that we can, I'm going to click through this presentation together. And please just jump in if you have any questions, any technical questions, you're wondering where I am, if I'm looking at something and explaining something that you're not seeing, please tell me. We're all getting used to this new world. So thank you for joining us. We are being recorded. We've renamed ourselves in our little thumbnail, and I'm going to go ahead and go through the agenda. So first of all, we will talk about some ground rules, and we'll go over what is RVAgreen 2050. We'll have a little icebreaker where we can get to know each other. And then we'll go through a presentation. This meeting is going to be less interactive than all the rest of our working group meetings, but we really want to set the stage so we're all in the same place, understanding what that means to have an equitable climate action and resilience planning process. And then we'll go through the logistics and next steps for our working group. And in the meantime, I definitely want to talk about who is here. First of all, I know some of you are wondering, how did you arrive here? Well, we are a combination of applicants to the working groups, community volunteers. Some of you were recommended by colleagues or supervisors. Some of you were requested, and some of you were voluntold. So you are a combination of technical experts, you are residents with valuable lived experiences, you are decision makers in your organizations, and some of you are simply those who will be essential to carrying out the initial rollout of these plans. And essential to the long-term success of this plan. So now we'll go around and do introductions and talk about who you are, just quickly your name, your organization. If you're representing a neighborhood, please speak to your neighborhood. If you're a Richmond resident, we'd love to know where you are from. So very quickly, I'm Dawn Olexi. I've been with the Office of Sustainability for the City of Richmond for about 8 months now. So I'm new to Richmond, and I'm new to all of you. I'm really looking forward to meeting you and working with you in the years to come. So with that, I will pass it off to Wendy. And then because we're all seeing different orders of who's where, Wendy will call on you and you can say your name, organization, and neighborhood.
Sure. Hi, I'm Wendy Fuster, and I'm with the City of Richmond, Office of Sustainability, and I live in, let's see, Colonial Place neighborhood, which is in the near west end of Richmond. And next we will go to Bill Nickerson.
Hey everybody, my name is Bill. I am an energy auditor with Low Income Weatherization. I've been in Richmond for 40 years. I live in the 9th District, and my work carries me from Fredericksburg to Virginia Beach. Thank you
Great,
for
thanks.
letting me be here.
Great. Jeanette?
Yes, I'm Jeanette Endicott. I am with Richmond Public Schools for 21 years. Work in the City of Richmond along the Commerce Road corridor. I'm the energy management analyst. What is that? I control the building automation system for 52 sites, heating, air conditioning, and lights. And keep an eye on the solar panels that we just installed. Right, Wendy?
Great. Thanks, Jeanette. Joe Sarver?
Yeah, Joe Sarver here. I've been with the Housing Authority for 18 years in 2 different tenures. I recently came back to the authority in 2018. I'm director of maintenance here. I have a background in energy conservation. I worked as an energy analyst in the private sector for some years as well. So I have leanings toward green building and sustainability. I run primarily the central maintenance operation here, which we do maintenance for the housing developments, Creighton Court, Whitcomb Court, and so forth. I'm a native Richmonder. I live in the west end of Richmond in Henrico County, but was born and raised in the city limits.
Great. Michael D.
Hey, I'm Michael Donnenberg. Glad to meet everyone. I work at VCU in the School of Medicine. I'm a doctor. Infectious diseases is my specialty, and a scientist, and I work in the medical school administration. I believe that climate damage is the single greatest threat facing humanity, and I'm trying to do everything I can to mitigate that, which includes volunteering for committees like this, doing the personal things I can do, and giving talks on the health effects of climate damage to basically anyone who'll listen.
Great, thank you. Bill Nickerson?
Hey, I introduced myself
Oh, sorry,
before.
you were on there twice. Okay, sorry, let me scroll on down. The order keeps changing on me. Sorry, Adam?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Hole. I am a City of Richmond employee. I work as a management analyst in support of the operations portfolio, which encompasses the departments of Public Works, Utilities, Animal Care and Control, and then also the Office of Sustainability. So I work to support all of those, as well as interacting with other agencies and departments. Apart from my city role, though, I'm also a resident of the East End, so I'm really looking forward both for within my work life, but also my personal life to see what this group can accomplish.
Great, thanks. Let's see, Town, DP.
My name's Doug Town. I'm the acting superintendent out at the water plant for the city of Richmond. And I missed what we were supposed to say here, but I'm gathering from what the folks had already said. I'm very interested in climate change because I have not only for myself and the future of the planet, but I have two little people that are 5 years old that I'm really concerned about their future and what they'll have as a future as a result of climate change.
Great, thank you. Leandra?
Hi, Leandra Jacobson. I'm a community volunteer. I work for the Air Force in a sustainability office, but not here as a representative of that, just here on my own and my personal interest as a Richmond resident of the Churchill area. Thank you.
Thanks. Josh? Young? You there, Josh?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
Okay. I'm Josh Young. I'm with the Department of Planning and Development Review. I work in the Zoning Administration Office. And I'm also a city resident, and I have an expertise in local zoning code and how that affects the ability to install and place a climate mitigation such as solar energy and other renewable energy items.
Great, thank you. Irina?
Sorry, I was unmuting myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Irina. I am one of your co-chairs with Adam. I grew up in Richmond, and I have moved all around and settled in Jackson Ward. I am participating in my capacity as a resident of this neighborhood, but I also work for the Department of Environmental Quality, doing communications and community engagement work, working mostly with our climate and energy staff. I am interested in working with all of you because none of us have all the answers, and I think it's working with a group of really smart people is an excellent way for us to help develop recommendations for how we can move the city forward and serve as an example for others.
Great, thank you. Alicia?
There we go. Yes, hi. I am Alicia Sackhoff. I'm the Sustainability Manager in the Office of Sustainability. And I'm just really thrilled to see everyone here and your passion and interest for helping us do this work of developing a climate action and resilience plan centered in equity for our community. I live in the city in the 4th District. Thank you.
Thanks. Damien.
Hi, everybody. I'm Damien. I am a professor of urban and regional planning in the School of Government and Public Affairs at VCU. My area of interest is energy and climate change as it relates to cities, and you know, exactly what we're doing here is trying to figure out how cities can reduce their carbon footprints through, you know, better energy use. I'm actually talking about that very topic in my class tonight, an undergrad intro to urban and regional planning course. And I've also done some work with the city on this type of thing in the past, and did some of the initial, you know, early stages of the modeling work that we'll probably be talking about later today or in future meetings. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Dan F.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Oh, yes, Dan Farrell. I'm with the State Energy Office. The Department is a Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy. So we are the State Energy Office for the state of Virginia. Happy to be here representing DMME and the State Energy Office. And I think, as many of you know, we now have a 100% clean energy goal as state law through the Virginia Clean Economy Act, which was passed in the spring of 2020. So we are very interested in participating and helping Richmond sort of put the pieces in place and the stepping stones in place to get to that goal as well. Because obviously the state can only accomplish its goals if the communities within the state accomplish their goals. So my expertise is in building energy efficiency, and so I'm assuming that's why I was asked to participate. So happy to bring whatever I can to the table.
Great, thank you. David S. David S.
Hi, everyone. My name is David. I am an intern with the Office of Sustainability. Been helping out Dawn and Wendy for the past couple months, and I'm doing my master in environmental science at VCU. So happy to be here to help and participate. And I just moved to the Manchester area, so been enjoying getting to know that.
Thank you. Ed. Oh, let's see, it says Ed's microphone is out, too much feedback. So he's on dial-in? Okay, I'll come back to him. Bob Stone, if you're there.
Yeah, okay. Bob Stone. I'm with City of Richmond Public Utilities. I've been with the DPU for 29 years now. Engineering manager in charge of design and construction for our water and wastewater treatment plants, pump stations, and more recently, the past 2 years, I've been working on building the 3 new schools for Richmond Public Schools. And I live in the Short Pump area of Henrico County.
Thank you. Fred?
Hi, my name is Fred Bell. I work with Dominion's Energy Conservation Group as an analyst. I work primarily just to kind of track participation data and spend data within the group, and also to track vendor performance and how they're doing with working on our programs. I live in the Henrico area in the west near Short Pump.
Great, thank you. Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Green. I'm with the Virginia Energy Efficiency Council. Some of our core programs are with CPACE, Building Codes, Energy Performance Contracting and Policy. And I live in the 4th District, Forest Hill area.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Good morning, I'm Jonathan Snyder. I'm with DPU.
Thank you. Andrew Grigsby?
Good morning, Andrew Grigsby. I am with Veridian, a local nonprofit in the 5th District. I also live in the 5th District. And I run the Energy Services Community Energy Services Division for Viridian, where our job is to bring clean energy solutions to area residents and businesses. So this is all what I do, and I'm going to make a quick plug. If this is something you care about, get a home energy audit for your own home. And we offer those starting at $45. So we are Richmond based, and we're here to address this problem and educate the whole community about that. And I've been working in this zone of the built environment of homes and buildings and communities for a long time, and glad that this project is ongoing. And Wendy, will we be getting this a list of the participants?
Yes, and I believe there's a link to it also in the Google Drive link.
Oh, great. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Let's see. Next up is Eric.
Hi, so yeah, I'm Eric Fritz. I am a manager of our distributed solar team at Dominion Energy. Been working in solar and renewable development for the past almost 5 years. I'm excited to be hopefully bringing some of that experience to helping the city meet its RVAgreen 2050 goals. And I am currently sitting in my beautiful house in Carytown.
Great, thank you. Jeff.
Of course, I'd be called on when I have my phone ringing. I apologize for that.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Jeff Crawford. I'm a management analyst in the Department of Finance for the City of Richmond. Previous to this, I worked for the Center for Urban and Regional Analysis at VCU. Was honored to take Dr. Pitt's grad level energy course, and I'm here to help out with any kind of financial modeling, incentive-based work, and anything else I can do for the group. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Shane.
Hi, I'm Shane Powers, and I'm a local architect designer here in Richmond. I just graduated with my master's at Virginia Tech, and actually pursued my undergraduate in Colorado. And I've mostly focused through my studies on the relationship between neuroscience, architecture, and the natural environment. So mostly investigating how behavior and stress are related to elements of our built and unbuilt world. So I'm a resident of the fan and mostly just here to be part of the conversation.
Great, thank you. Let's see, I'll try Ed again. Are you available? Okay, let's see. KW Hill. Nope, okay. I can see them on there, I just can't see them. All right, well, if there's anyone else I missed, please feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and introduce yourself. And if not, I will send it back to Dawn.
All right, well, thanks everyone. Ed Edmondson is with the wastewater treatment plant, and Kenny Hill is with DPW, Public Works, Buildings and Facilities. So they will be instrumental when we talk about city operations, but
Sorry,
Oh,
this is
hey,
Kenny.
Kenny.
I was trying to work out this whole Zoom, which is different than the team. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah, sorry about that. I could hear you talking about me. I was like, I can't say anything. Appreciate the introduction from you, Don. Yes, I'm operation manager for the city facilities for the Department of Public Works. We currently have about right at 77 occupied buildings and another probably 5 or 6 that are vacant buildings. But we handle the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, as well as the capital project services and security and capital projects. And what else did I left out janitorial services for all the city facilities.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I think you've got a pretty good idea that we have all of these great experts on the call. And
Absolutely.
so grateful to everyone for being here. Each one of you plays an important role in the long-term success of this project. What is our expectation of you? Well, you're going to help us develop the recommendations for this plan and help to apply best practices to the Richmond context while we incorporate these policies and expectations into our own strategies going forward. So with that, let's see, ground rules and group expectations. So like I said, the meetings are going to be much more interactive going forward than they are today. And so, we have a lot of really important people on the call. We want to be mindful of time. We want to respect each other. We want to be present. I know it's so easy to be pulled in a lot of different directions, especially when we're working virtually like this at our desks. But try to be present. Please try to participate. We really don't want any one person dominating. We want to make sure that we're giving the stage to every one of you. Be additive, not repetitive. I think we've all learned through this Zoom experience that when we hear someone say something, we want to, turn that into our own version of agreement. But sometimes it's best just to give a thumbs up and find new ways of building consensus. And speaking of consensus, aim for consensus. And if you're okay with what's being said, kind of put this measure of, I can live with that. If you can live with it, then we can move on. Be open to new ideas. If you bring a problem, please try to also bring a solution. Separate the people from the problem. The rule of thumb, like I said, that's a good way to kind of communicate your thoughts. And then this idea of Elmo, some of these were taken from the Richmond 300 planning process. They were very successful. Enough, let's move on. So feel free to call us out. We are not here to offend anybody, but we are here to respect each other and to come to some deliverables. So we want to be very mindful of all of these things. Does anyone else have any best practices or suggestions or recommendations or requests on how we can be effective? And this is an evolving conversation. So if you want to speak up, please do. If you want to email us outside of this or put something in the chat, speaking of the chat, I can't see it on my version. So Wendy, please keep an eye on that and just interrupt me. Is there anything in there now?
Just a lot of people adding where they live, which part of town they lived in.
Great.
Someone confessing they live in Williamsburg, so Dawn can shout out since she's out in James
hello.
City County. But yeah, that's it so far. But I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, thanks. Excellent. Okay, so in terms of sustainability accomplishments, I can't take credit for this, but a lot of you on this call can. So much amazing work has been done over the last 10 years in Richmond. This whole presentation is going to be a resource for you to refer back to. So we'll be sending you a link to the website where this is embedded. It'll be a PDF. You can go back and read all of this as much as you want. I don't want to spend too much time on any one slide today. I'm mostly just going to kind of click through so that you can get an overview and then know where to find this information when you want to at a later date. We are obviously up here at 2020, the RVAgreen 2050 inclusive community engagement process has been initiated, and you are all part of that. So thank you again for being here. So our planning process started in 2017 with the pre-planning where Mayor Stoney announced the RVAgreen 2050. We started with the data collection and the equity capacity building, which if you were on the training 2 weeks ago, then you heard all about that process. If you were not able to be on that call, I hope that you are able to watch the meeting and refer to the training materials. And if you haven't yet, please do at some point in the near future, because equity is the central component of this project. It will not be successful unless we put equity at the center. And this is a whole new process for all of us. So you're learning right along with us. Over the past year, in the green, you'll see the understanding community priorities. Kendra Norrell is the community engagement coordinator for the Office of Sustainability, and she launched the ambassador program, gathered community input through surveys. Maybe some of you participated in that. And now we are at the launching the roundtable. There's an environmental justice roundtable and the working groups. And so that's where we are. You'll learn more about what that looks like. It's a very interactive process. And then next, we'll be moving into the plan development in 2021, and then hoping to have this this project, the climate action plan adopted and implemented in 2022. So this is our timeline, and we'll just continue to move this star along as we go. So the planning process, everyone here is part of the Orange working groups, but most of us also represent another one of these, either the Sustainability Office or the Frontline Community Roundtable. I think on this call we have Will Nickerson and one other from the Environmental Justice Roundtable, but we'll all get to know each other better. And I'll give you another resource where you can see who's in those roles later on. The technical working groups, there are 5 of them. Wendy and I are overseeing buildings and energy, transportation and land use, and waste. And then others from our office are overseeing the community and environment groups. These are just, this is not an exhaustive list of topics. These are just some of the areas that we might be discussing. We will at some point be discussing all of these, but there might be more. So at this point, we are going to attempt an icebreaker, and Irina, Adam, David, and Wendy are going to, I'm going to send you all into breakout rooms with one of them, and you can just have a brief discussion about what motivates you to help make Richmond more equitable, healthy, and resilient. And this isn't going to be, you're not going to get to meet everybody, but at least get in some small groups and kind of talk a little bit more amongst yourselves. So let me attempt this, splitting you all up. If I can get those going.
And Wendy, would you like to let everyone know how long they'll have, why Dawn's doing that?
How long did you decide on, Dawn? Sorry.
Let's see, how about 5 minutes?
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, let's find. Bear with me, I'm getting there. All right, looks like there might be a couple with more than 5. Okay, here we go. So click join. Did that work? Does anyone need any help getting to a room? These might be phones.
Can you put people in a room if they're on the phone?
Let's see. Oh, it looks like
There goes Ed. It looks like just one other person.
Well, Joe has video and.
Oh, so he's probably good. And I asked Wendy not to put me in a group. I didn't realize you were doing it. I thought she was. So I just didn't go. So
okay, yeah. I was trying to do it quickly, so I just selected everyone.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure, Joe. Yeah, he joined by Thanks.
Oh, you're doing a great job so far.
Thanks. It is definitely awkward because I don't know what you all can see, you know? So, and I can't figure out how to find, I don't necessarily want to click between screens in case I show that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm trying
So
to-
we're just seeing I mean, I have it on gallery view because I want to try and watch folks' body language and.
Oh, good.
So I'm seeing everybody else and I'm seeing the screen and I'm seeing you talking. So I guess it depends on if people have speaker view or gallery view. So, and then I have the chat up too, so I can try and monitor, see what people are saying in the chat.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
11:34. Oh, so good. We're right on schedule. I had said we have breakout rooms until 11:40. So
great.
Did I
Good.
say 5 or 10 minutes?
5.
I wonder if I should check in. Do you think 5 is enough?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Based on what Brian's feedback was. Yeah, and
okay.
I would just send a message when they have 1 minute left.
Okay. I wonder if it's been maybe.
Yeah, because you just decided to do one 5-minute session, not rotate them around, right?
Yeah, because it's such a big group. That would be too
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
Especially with this being the first time doing it. So met with Priscilla yesterday. Do you know her from Parks and Rec?
No, I haven't met her.
She's great. She's quite the entertainer, coordinator, fun person. So she's gonna help with tomorrow's waste meeting.
Good.
Jumping in with, icebreakers and I think we will do like a speed dating kind of breakout because it's a smaller group.
Good. And just speaking about parks, I'm going to go ahead and I was just sorry, but I'm doing some other things while I'm on the call. I just need to, but I'm going to go ahead and schedule the EV meeting with them and not wait for them since we haven't heard from them yet, because we need to go ahead and so I'm working on finding a time to do that. I was hoping to try and do it next week. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I still have these roofers, which is why I moved downstairs. Is there banging in the background?
There is, and I actually thought you were at the city because the blinds look different, and so I almost was gonna send you a note to let people know you were, in case anyone's hearing. But then I was like, oh, she must be at the city in her office because of the blinds. But yeah, it's not bad, but you can hear it. And I actually went through and checked to see if anyone else wasn't on mute, if it was somewhere else. But I think it is from your house. So
it is, and I was muting myself most of the time, especially during the introductions. But when I had to talk and I heard all the banging, I was like, oh, there's nothing. I can do about
So
this.
you may, if you want, when people come back, you may just want to say, hey, just so you all know, that banging you hear, it's not in your head, is coming from me. It's just, that's what. That's the deal these days working at home. I got some roofing. So totally up to you, but it's not bad, but you definitely can hear it. So.
Okay. All right. So I hopefully just sent a 60-second message. I'm giving them a little more time, but maybe I will pull them back early. Oh, I think I close all rooms and then they'll come back. Let me give them a few seconds. All right, I'm going to close the rooms.
All right.
And I'm going to mute myself. All right, welcome back. I think people are still coming back, but hopefully that gave you a little bit of a chance to get to know each other better and learn a little bit more about what drives you. Speaking of that, well, two things. So if you hear banging, it is not in your head. They are roofers on top of my house. This is our virtual world, right? So I'm trying to mute myself as much as I can, but I apologize for that. So in your breakout rooms, you were able to learn a little bit more about each other. This is a reminder on your screen, this shortcut. If you want to type it in, that'll take you to our Google Drive where we have all of the participants of this working group with your organization, a column if you want to put your position or title in there, or what you represent, and then a couple at the end where you can talk about what your specialties or interest areas are and what drives you. And this is just ongoing. Please, put information in there as we move on, revisit it, make edits to it, whatever you want. It's for everyone to share. And then there is a link to that in the invitation to this meeting. I think there's a link to that document, and we'll continue to share it with you going forward. So just want you to all feel free to contact each other, update that spreadsheet, all of the above. Okay, so now I'm going to blow through a lot of slides. I apologize for this information dump, but like I said, this is going to be available anytime you want to refer back to it. It's just a lot of really good information. You saw that 10-year history of this office, and a lot of work has been done up until now, setting the foundation for what we're going to be doing next. So I want to explain to you exactly what is an equitable climate action plan and where does resilience fall into that. So the traditional approach to climate planning is a climate action plan, a climate resilience plan. Oh, and let's put some equity into it, or add another layer of equity at the end. Well, what we're doing here is cutting edge. We're learning from a lot of the other top cities and organizations who have been working on this of late. And so it's an integrated approach. We're taking the climate action piece, which is reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and the climate resilience piece, which is preparing for the impacts, and putting the equity is really the center of how we're going to develop this moving forward. So what is climate action? I'm sure everyone on this call is very familiar with these terms, but want to make sure we're speaking the same language. So climate change is the shift in the long-term average weather pattern. And what we're really focusing on are these human-caused emissions, especially from burning fossil fuels. And so the buildings and energy group is essential to this conversation. We have energy from fossil fuels, energy from vehicle emissions, and waste emissions. And these warm the atmosphere. That adds that extra kind of layer of insulation that's creating these problems that we're having to deal with. So there are climate impacts and climate shocks, and they all filter down to all of these areas that affects residents, community, government, all of our operations. Every single citizen is being impacted. So the work that's been done to date has broken down all the Richmond emissions, our carbon footprint, and you can see here by source, by sector, and then specifically to the buildings, which is the biggest piece. This blue building energy is 66% of our carbon footprint here in Richmond, and then that breaks down to commercial and government energy is 34%, industrial is 9%, residential is 22% of the building's emissions. So up until now, we took a baseline in 2008, and the goal was to reduce 45% by 2030, and now 100% net zero by 2050. So we need to figure out how to get there. But up until now, you can see the last inventory we did was 2018 calendar year. And so we are on track. We are decreasing. The 2019 inventory is being finalized now. So we'll have those numbers to work on. And we're doing it every year to make sure that we're on track. Okay, carbon neutrality is not that we have to get all of our emissions to zero. It's, there will be offsets. It's a balancing game. So the climate's resilience piece is, it's already happening in Richmond. Climate change is already impacting Richmond. And this is just a big pile of articles from the past couple of years that showcase, where we're seeing it. And even most recently, I'm sure you've seen some big articles on how it's affecting us, just the flood last week. So Richmond's future weather. This is an interesting slide that looks at daily temperature, hot days, extended heat waves, and days with over an inch of rainfall. And you can see that by 2041 to 2060, it's a big jump if we don't do anything about it. So climate change risks, again, talked about the impacts and the shocks and how this affects the different sectors, all the way down to specific indicators, loss of life, communication networks impaired, schools closed, high energy bills. So the equity piece, this is why it's essential. And if you were on the training, you've heard a lot of this, but there are root causes to why some are impacted more than others. And a lot of it does have to do with racism. I know we've heard a lot about this lately, and it's just becoming more apparent that structural racism and, how these kinds of root causes affect social factors and biological factors play in, and then that increases the sensitivity to climate change, all of those factors. So some of the disproportionate climate impacts for low-income populations and communities of color, they're more likely to live in areas with less green space, lack access to efficient and affordable housing, and be impacted by extreme weather events, be exposed to airborne allergens, live in housing without central air and vulnerable to heat impacts, live in neighborhoods that lack convenient access. And here is a map that shows on the left, it's the Climate Equity Index, which you'll learn more about. We have about 30 different layers that go into the impacts of climate on it's census based. And you can see the dark red areas are the ones that are most vulnerable. This is on the website, so we'll be sending you links to this if you haven't seen it before, and you can put in any address and see what the vulnerable layers or what layers impact those areas the most. But on the right, you can see the Black or African American population in blue and the Hispanic or Latinx population on the bottom. And a lot of those impacts, the areas that are darkest overlay with the vulnerable populations. And we've seen that with COVID. These vulnerable communities are disproportionately impacted. So again, equity is prioritizing the marginalized communities. Climate action is reducing our emissions, and then climate resilience is preparing for these impacts. And at the center of all of that is what we're doing here. So we'll be taking all kinds of inputs from listening sessions and the roundtable and the working groups and best practices, technical modeling, which you'll hear more about. And that's how this process is going to work. One of the examples of where that comes together would be, we listened in terms of equity, affordable housing was a big community priority. Well, how can we address that in terms of climate mitigation? Well, let's reduce emissions, make them more energy efficient, and look at renewable energy options. And then in terms of resilience, well, weatherization and energy security play into that. So we can see these co-benefits. It really does help all of the areas, and there is a nexus. So universal goal targeted actions, again, I'm not going to go into this, but this is more about, how to make this process equitable, recognizing that we need to tailor opportunities for all. People-centered approach is essential. This is the Virginia Community Voice training that if you haven't seen this blueprint, it's in the training resources, and it's just great. They've done amazing work. Centering equity in all these different areas, just so you know, a lot of work has been done behind the scenes to set the foundation so that we are centering equity in everything we do. And at that point, I want to pause and see if there are any questions. I know I just blew through a lot of information.
Let's see, in the chat, Dan posted some information just on blue-green corridor projects in New Orleans. And he posted a link there to a presentation on this subject. Yeah, so anyway, take a look at the link that he's got in there for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, please continue to share information. That's what we're here for, to learn from each other. Okay, so just wanted to check in. I'm going to kind of we follow this 7-second rule in our office. So I'll open it up. If anyone has something to say, if after 7 seconds no one speaks up, I'll move on. But I certainly want to give the floor to anyone.
Oh, yes, I have a question.
Sure. Who's
Is there going to be this is Fred Bell.
Okay.
With Dominion. I had a question. The ultimate goal of this project is to improve building efficiency, whether it's residential housing and commercial businesses. If we improve a lot of the lower income areas as far as the residential housing, is there any group together, or is this going to be a part of it to where, I guess, if the property values are improved, or I'm sorry, the properties are improved, the property values will go up. And in some cases, when you do that in some areas, when property values go up, it kind of forces out lower income residents. Is there anything to address that?
Fantastic question. And that's a perfect example of something that we will drill into when we start developing our strategies.
Oh, sorry.
So no, that's a great example. Thank you. So let me move on to our toolbox, and maybe this will help you understand a little more about kind of what we have in front of us and what the next steps are going to be. So, city planning we've come up with a lot of great goals in the past decade. The sustainability plan was a nice foundation for the work that we're doing today. Richmond Connects, the RVA H2O Clean Water Plan, Vision Zero Action Plan, the Richmond Regional Housing Framework, the Richmond 300 Master Plan, and then this net zero resolution that was just passed in June. So all of those are building on each other, and we really don't want any of them operating in silos. They're just, we're all reaching out to each other to make sure that our plans are integrated and successful in the long term. I mentioned this earlier, the vulnerability assessment we will be doing in our next working group. We'll be talking about this some more, but just so we have lots of great tools. This is the Urban Heat Vulnerability Assessment. We have the Climate Equity Index that takes these and more measures into account to understand the highest risk neighborhoods. And it is online, so you can see how you can add in all kinds of layers and look at how the risks are affecting Richmond over the next many years. So let's see, climate impacts analysis, and then the vulnerability analysis and the risks. This is where we need to understand these so that we can adapt. And this engagement phase that started last spring and went on through September, we got lots of community voices involved in this, listening sessions. We have 34 ambassadors of this program. We have office hours where residents can come talk to us. We have our 134 participants. You guys are part of these working groups where we have, a lot of really bright people engaged. So based on all of that work that was done in the past year or 6 months or so, the community priorities are racial equity and environmental justice, engagement and communication, government accountability, health and well-being, neighborhoods, housing and buildings, and community wealth. So these 7 community priorities are what the community working group is going to be focusing on. They want to make sure that all the work that we're doing is putting these as priorities. So the modeling specifically down to our carbon footprint numbers, a consultant put together, worked with our office to come up with a goal scenario to get 80% reductions by 2050. As I mentioned, the net zero goal was just passed in June. So now we are working with consultants again to re-examine this and get it all the way down to net zero. But these were some of the areas that were recommended that were most likely to get us there. And this is just a picture of the matrix that went into creating those wedges, those action wedges. And I've only put up the buildings ones here. There are things like benchmarking buildings and if water and wastewater efficiency upgrades, all kinds of retrofits. And then this is the energy one, solar and policies. As we know, a lot of what happens at the state is kind of the biggest impact on our opportunity for reductions. So that's where we are now. We'll have these new numbers, the new action wedges to report back to you guys beginning of January so that we can really drill into the recommendations that'll come out of this group. Some of the relevant legislation that we want to pay attention to: the Virginia Clean Economy Act, RGGI, the Solar Freedom Act, Clean Energy Choice Act, Virginia Energy Plan, Community Solar Development Pilot Program. Some of you are aware of others, but these are the kinds of things that are going to really feed into this plan. So what's next? Well, went over the overview of the planning process. We've done the equity training and foundation setting that's going on now and at the next meeting. And then in January, we're drafting the strategies. March through April is community engagement. And then we're looking forward to finalizing a draft by the end of the year and having it passed in the spring of 2022. I mentioned a little bit about these community priorities. That's the middle ring. The very center is, us centering racial equity and environmental justice. And then the outside are the working groups. So everything that we come up with in our buildings and energy group will kind of feed through the community group to make sure that we're incorporating all of these priorities. And then the stakeholders, the ones with the lived experience, will actually, give their input as well. And that's really going to help this be a more sustainable plan. Oh, I think I just missed one. So the workflow, I've kind of gone over. You can refer back to this if you need to be reminded. We'll keep this updated as the dates are added and meetings get moved around. We'll be looking the specific strategies that are going to come out of this group. We're following this SMARTY, where it's a SMART plan. We're adding an IE. We want to make sure that it's strategic, measurable, ambitious, realistic, time-bound, and then very importantly, inclusive and equitable. So here's an example of what that means, and just some more kind of filters to think about to make sure that we are centering equity. Some of the topics we'll address, I kind of blew through them before, but here you can see a smattering of them. So be thinking about this as you go through your own work and what you can bring to the table in these areas and others that you might come up with. Sorry for the banging. So that's it. Before I jump into next steps, again, I know that was a lot of information, so please speak up with any questions. And I'm going to put myself on mute.
And Dan has added another resource in the chat there. So from Enterprise Community Partners, multifamily building resilience strategies. So there's a link there for you.
Hey,
Dawn, I have a
Dawn.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. Can please go ahead and then I'll ask Dawn.
Oh, you know, in the wedge graph that you showed with different sectors over time,
Mm-hmm.
does that appear to, I mean, it appears, does that show that, you know, the sum is greater than we are now instead of down, if I'm interpreting your graph correctly?
The business
Sum
as
of all
usual.
of these different sectors is, yeah, right.
So just to clarify, Michael, that's actually a slide that is out of date because that was modeling to get to 80% by 2050. We were just showing that as an example of the work that we've already done that we're building on. So we don't yet have the updated projections of the modeling to show what our net zero scenario would look like. But just to use that to read it correctly, actually what you want to look at is, and it's hard to see on the slide deck, but there's a bottom dotted line that shows essentially the bottom of the last kind of wedge that's in like a maroonish color, and that shows to 2050 at a 80% reduction. Again, it's not net zero because that was an older version of the modeling. If that makes sense. Just
I guess what I don't understand is all these different sectors which are shown in different colors, you know, are ending up at 3.4. It's, you know, exactly what.
Yeah, I can explain.
Yes.
Yeah, so the top line here is the business as usual projection to 2050 if our citywide greenhouse gas emissions continue at the recent trend, right? So the idea is we would be up to 3.4 as you noted if we do nothing. So in order to get from 3.4 down to 0.6 or so, which is the old target based on 80% below 1990 levels, that's a total reduction of 2.8, right? So we can achieve that 2.8 via this combination of different approaches that you see here. So the next analysis is going to presumably have a similar type of a wedge analysis outcome that would just show, and I don't know if they're going to change the business as usual projection, but let's say that stays the same. The new analysis would show wedges getting us all the way down to here, down to net zero.
Yeah, I get it now. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Dan.
Could I ask real quick, does that include only greenhouse gas reductions or offsets as well?
It's just reductions.
Thank you.
Excellent questions.
So Dawn, if you could you go back to the circle slide that shows the roundtable and the working groups and I just think it might be helpful for folks to explain a little bit more the roles and with the roundtable and just sharing that really this planning process is really centered around the Racial Equity and Environmental Justice Roundtable. They are sort of the heart of the planning process, and they will be providing all of the working groups with, they are developing a racial equity tool that all of the working groups will use to help develop the recommendations of each of the working groups. So for that will be actually the next meeting that all the working groups have in December. We'll be receiving this racial equity tool from the roundtables and looking at it and seeing how that can be applied in each working group. So for you all, for example, does that make sense for this working group? Are there any tweaks that you might want to make? And so that racial equity tool will help this group, for example, make your recommendations as they relate to buildings and energy, but in a way that will help, us carry out the intention of making recommendations centered in racial equity. And the slide that Dawn showed you all a little bit earlier in the presentation, talking about the three types of equity: procedural, which is how we set up our process and how we're including people in the decision making, and then distributional, which is really what the racial equity tool is going to help us do, which is in our decision making and making recommendations, is really taking equity into account and considering, for example, with a policy, let's say it's energy efficiency, really considering who's potentially benefiting, who's potentially being burdened, which comes back to the question, and I'm sorry, I forgot who asked it, but talking about, it was, I can't see who the name now, but the gentleman from Dominion who asked about with the energy efficiency programs, and if you enhance the energy efficiency of a home, and that potentially could raise the price and lead to gentrification issues. So that's how we're going to be addressing those types of issues through this process, is using a racial equity tool and taking, a lot of time to be intentional about how we're developing recommendations so that we can, try to address those issues through the process. And the other way that we're going to be taking racial equity into account is through that community priorities working group. And so that's sort of a second layer or second check on equity through our process. And that group was intentionally informed with both residents and folks that have expertise around all of the community priorities that were identified. And so as you all, with your technical expertise, develop recommendations in the buildings and energy area, those will go through the community priorities working group, and where they'll be looking for things like, well, how does this impact, for example, the community priority of affordable housing or of health? And looking at that before those recommendations then go back to the roundtable. So I just thought it was important to kind of tease that out a little and give folks a little bit more information about how the process will work. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Alicia. I really appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we've discussed?
This is Andrew Grigsby. I have kind of a question, kind of a concern, and Michael from VCU sort of raised it in an earlier chat of, will that happen fast enough? When I look at the timeline of this planning process and having a plan ready for implementation 16 odd months from now, that's a long time. And I'm wondering what, because I know there are, obviously climate damage will continue apace, but also grave inequities continue apace today. So what actions can we take or recommend now and not have to wait those 16 months? What statements in the interim might come out of this process to try and achieve good sooner?
Yeah, so Dawn, if you're okay, I'll take that one too. So I think, Andrew, that's a great question. We all in our office agree, have the same concerns, and I think there's a couple of responses. So one is that we're not waiting until this planning process is over. So we are continuously working internally on aligning what we think will come out of this planning process, and what's already, for example, in Richmond 300. A lot of you I know we worked with a lot of you on Richmond 300, the city's comprehensive plan update, for those that aren't aware, but I know many of you on this group were part of that process. And we all worked really hard to get a lot of really great goals and objectives into that plan, many of which, are based around improving climate action and resilience in the city. And so what we're doing here is essentially sort of starting from where Richmond 300 stopped, is in terms of looking at our processes and implementation of what's in Richmond 300 are related to climate action and resilience, but going deeper and looking at how we implement those things centered in equity and figuring out how we get that done. So we have a really good framework, a basis based on what's in Richmond 300. So that's one thing. And so we're already, taking the opportunities when they arise to move forward. So as one example, the mayor, some of you may know, put out recently a draft of equitable affordable housing plan. And there were a lot of things in there that we saw where we could make a case for including things that weren't there. So our office put together essentially a list of recommendations and data to support it on energy burden, the connection between energy burden and eviction rates in the city, and a lot of other information. We're happy to share that with everyone here on this working group if you're interested. But to ask for that plan to include a lot of things that weren't in there. Green building standards for affordable housing is one example, and a number of other things. So we are moving forward on things and not waiting for this plan to get done, but at the same time, we feel like it's really important to have this comprehensive climate action plan in place as well. And so we are happy at any point in time for folks, if you're aware of initiatives or things that we're not, to please let us know. And beyond just working on this plan, we see this bringing you all together as an opportunity to create a great group of stakeholders who are interested in moving forward on the same types of initiatives in the community and the city. And there's nothing stopping us from working on other things together. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you, Alicia. Yeah, this work is not. Andrew, did you want to say something else?
Well, yeah, and yeah, I understand. Lots going on. So maybe this group needs to, I guess, be as we work to try and craft a plan, we'll also make sure we are as dialed in to what's already going on. I mean, that's part of the value of groups like this, is all of us finding out all the other good things that are going on and being able to cross promote and reinforce those actions. So yeah, maybe that's another resource on the Google Drive, is good things that are happening now to share, to so we can all augment each other's work.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I can add that to it. So please, put in these resources, things you want to share with each other. That's a great idea. I think that getting all of us together and talking about these things, seeing the same data, discussing opportunities is going to allow us to bring back similar strategies in our own organizations. So that's going to make it even more effective going forward. Our office, we're still working on how can we get electric charging stations installed, and how can we get solar on buildings, and all of these things that all of these elements. How can we work towards policy changes that will make Richmond greener. All of that is still going on, but this is, as Alicia very succinctly put, this is a model to get everyone in the conversation so we can really see what it looks like going forward, something to work from. Great question. Anyone else?
This is Joe with Richmond Housing. I'd like to make a statement, basically, not a question, but and this maybe doesn't need to be said, but I want to say it. We basically have 4,000 units of affordable housing in the housing authority, and I think we roughly house 10,000 people, and you know, I'm maintenance director here, and I'm maintaining real estate that is well beyond its useful life. We cannot get here fast enough to make changes for the better for the folks that we serve. So, you know, in my opinion, as a energy conservation person and as someone who's spent a career in maintaining mechanical systems and whatnot, we're exactly where we do not want to be with our housing stock. So just kind of throwing that out there for everybody to be aware of.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Very moving and very important element of this project. Anything else? Okay.
Dawn,
yeah.
I think it might be helpful also just for folks to understand the time frame for this, whether we call it a roadmap or a plan that we're working on, to explain that to folks. I'm happy to do that. Okay, so I think just to let people know, so the goal, the big long-term goal, and that was set by a city council resolution earlier this year, as Dawn mentioned, was net zero emissions community-wide by 2050, and also preparing our community for climate impacts, which are extreme heat, extreme precipitation, and to a lesser extent, sea level rise. What we're working on with this plan or this roadmap document is a shorter time frame initially, and what we will be doing is essentially working to 2030 and including focusing in on short-term action items that we can do, and sort of in the up to 2025, and then sort of midterm between 2025 and 2030. And so that's really what we want, and we'll be asking all of the working groups to focus on. And the reason for that is we want to be able to have things that can be implemented, you know, as soon as possible and completed. And then we will be doing these roadmaps and planning processes, so to speak, every 5 years. And that's been something we've done a lot of research in other communities and how they're sort of tackling their climate action planning and implementation, and that seems to be the best practice. And so the other reason for that is, as I'm sure many of you know, things are changing so quickly in, you know, these areas with renewable energy and storage and so many of the other technologies that we're all dealing with, that it you know, in terms of putting time and effort into planning so far out or farther out, in as far as 2050, it just made a lot more sense to do that short-term planning where we could, you know, actually implement things and then revisit on a 5-year time frame. So that's what we'll be doing, and we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
So in terms of next steps, you know, I'll be sharing a link to this presentation, so feel free to go back through it, take a look at it, listen to it, ask any questions you have, share your information in the Google Drive, email us with any other information that you think would be helpful. Our next meeting is December 16th, and that's when we'll, as she said, we'll be reviewing the equity tool from the roundtable at that time. And then this is a survey to help us improve for next time. And I'm just wondering if someone wants to put that in the link. Actually, I'll email that to you. You can do that when I send that email to you, unless you wanted to copy it from here. But I also thought it would be, let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Okay, that way I can copy that link for you.
Dawn,
sure.
May I ask the stupid question here? So how do I access the Google Drive? How do we get there?
Okay, great question. Let me put the link to that in
The
the chat.
link is in the chat. It's up a little bit. If
Great.
you want to scroll up a little bit, Wendy put it in the chat a little earlier, and I can just copy and paste it again so it's down at the bottom for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And,
so yeah.
And I also asked Wendy to put the link to the survey in the chat.
Great. Okay, so in the chat are the link to the Google Drive. And let me just show you what that looks like since we're all here together. So this is us, the Buildings and Energy Working Group participants, with your name, your organization, your position or title, your email. Be sure to update that if it changes. What your role is in this group and your area of specialty or interest. If you have a personal driver that motivates you in this arena, we would love to hear that. And then we'll add another column for, or anyone, if you have other ideas. You know, this is a shared resource, so please feel free to add additional information on this page if you have other ideas for us being even more collaborative and successful. Please feel free to speak up. But this is what it looks like. Wendy gave you the link to this document, so you should be able to go right in there and make changes to it, and it just saves automatically, so that makes that easy. Then also in the chat, I believe Wendy put the survey link, and that will give us some feedback on this meeting so that we can hear your thoughts, think about what we can do better or differently next time. And then also, I wanted to, when you do get the presentation, the link to the presentation, you'll see there are a lot more slides at the end with more data on the greenhouse gas emissions inventory and on the community survey results. So that's all really good information for you to just be aware of, that, you know, what has been done up until this point. So with that, I have a little word cloud. Since we have a few minutes, I wanted to ask you all, I'm going to put another link in the chat. And this will just be a little fun thing for us to do. If I can enter that. Let me try again. Okay, do you see pollev.com in the chat? Anybody?
Negative for me.
Okay, if you could copy that and put it in a browser.
Wait, did somebody say yes?
Oh, do you not see it?
I think you heard a lot and I heard a lot of no's.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
no.
Let me try one more time. pollev.com.
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, so click or select that, open up a browser, and put that in. And all right, so you might have to put your name in, but it's still anonymous. I can't see who's entering what. So we're gonna make a word cloud, like any word, any thought coming out of this meeting. It can be what drives you. It can be, you know, what motivates you the most to be involved in this, your area of expertise. I just kind of want to see a general word cloud of where we are, where this group is today, what your thought is in leaving at the close of this meeting. So enter a response and then click submit. All right, and then I'm going to share that with everyone as a follow-up. So you can continue to add after this meeting if you'd like. All right, so with that, any other feedback, any other questions, any other comments?
Sorry, can you explain again what we're supposed to enter in here in this box on this poll?
Okay, so where it says enter a response, is that what you have up on your screen? So just a thought. It could be what motivates you to be involved in climate action planning, what you want to see change the most in terms of buildings and energy, carbon footprints. This is just going to turn into a word cloud. And I just kind of want to see where this group is at the end of this first meeting. So it's not anything that you can enter right or wrong. All right, anyone else want to say anything while we're here? If not, I am so grateful to each one of you for participating. You will hear more from us. Thank you, Wendy, for being there, ready to take on any question and help me deal with this technology. Alicia, thank you so much for all of the added input, very valuable. And thanks to Adam and Irina, our co-chairs, who helped us prepare for this meeting so that it could be as efficient and effective as possible virtually. You'll be hearing more from all of us, and we look forward to working with every one of you. So with that, I will say goodbye.
I was just going to say real quick, I see Rob jumped on real quick. Sorry, I didn't know. I just wanted to say hi to Rob. He's one of our team members.
Oh,
Thank
hey,
you.
Rob.
Yeah, sorry, I had another Zoom meeting, but it's great to be here for the second half of this.
Awesome.
Rob, do you want to just say where you're from organization-wise? And we had said if we live in the city, where, just everybody did that in the beginning, just so people know who you are.
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name's Rob Andrzejewski. I'm the Director of Sustainability at the University of Richmond. I've been at U of R for 5 years, and we are actually looking at our own climate action planning process for our second CAP. So this is great. I'm really looking forward to trying to be more of an anchor institution in the city, and getting more interplay between what we're doing as a city and what we're doing as a university. So I'm really excited to be part of this group and to be learning from all of you. And I live just south of Broad, near Willow Lawn in the city.
Okay, thanks. And let's see, Dan has posted one last question in the chat. Are there any best practices in terms of zoning or policy that gets to addressing housing affordability, unexpected property tax increases, and potential gentrification? And are there any examples we can look to? So maybe somebody already has that, and if so, you can send us information, or if not, just be thinking about it or trying to collect that type of information so that we can take a look at that at our next meeting.
Yeah, so we'll share the paper, the recommendations that we sent. That includes on the equitable affordable housing plan, and that includes some of those policies. We did a not thoroughly extensive research of other cities' best practices, but we had David, if he's still on the line, one of our interns, do some of that research for us and looked at other cities. So that the paper we can share with folks has some of that information, as well as the data mapping that we put together on energy burden for the city, which may be interesting for folks to look at as we continue moving through this process.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again to everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
Dawn, I was hoping, did Wendy jump off? I was hoping
It looks like it.
Oh, I was hoping, see if we can get her back. I was hoping we could do a quick debrief.
Yeah, that would be great. I need to go talk to these contractors for 5 minutes.
Okay.
So could
you want to just keep it on, stay
Oh, sure.
on, and then I'll
she's calling me.
Oh, okay.
Here, let me mute you and tell her to join back on.
Hi, Joan, Irina, you're still logged in, if you want to log
Yeah,
out.
logging out. Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't get my browser to work with the poll. just so
Oh,
you know.
okay. Yeah, it took me a second to get that going up too. But yeah, I had to
Well,
copy and paste
it's
it.
telling me my browser's out of date. I'm using Microsoft Edge, so
Ah, okay.
I maybe can get in with Google Chrome.
Okay.
So anyhow, I'll
Yeah.
sign out.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, and Don, you need to stop the recording also.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Stop recording.